justice. They established important legal precedents for future international trials, including those for Japanese war criminals and for trials decades later in Rwanda and the former Yugoslavia.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start preparing for a Four Corners activity that we're going to have on Monday. But I want you guys to really be able to think about these things before we actually jump up and start going into the Four Corners. So today there's a couple things. I want you to start developing your own ideas about what justice looks like. At the end of World War II, people want justice. They want justice for the Holocaust. They want justice for the crimes that the Germans and the Japanese did. First, I want to ask you, what is justice? Is justice punishing someone? Is it giving them something that you think they deserve? Is it making things equal? What is justice? I'm not going to have you answer that now, but by the end of this, you're going to be able to come up with your own opinion. So for the first one, Winston Churchill, the British leader, thought the Nazi leaders should be hanged, but other leaders thought they should go to trial. So here's the statement you're going to be asked. Those responsible for the Holocaust should be killed or jailed. They do not have the right to a fair trial in a court of law. You're going to circle if you agree, strongly disagree, or disagree with that statement and tell me why. So those responsible for the Holocaust should be killed or jailed. They do not have the right to a fair trial in a court of law. I'll give you a minute to put down your thoughts. It's just your opinion, but you need to say why. No. Good question, guys. We do not need complete sentences for this because we're going to have that when we're speaking in the Four Corners activity on Monday. These are like your notes for that. All right, so go ahead and talk in your groups. Share out what you thought. Did you strongly agree, disagree?
Killed or jailed. So, like, even maybe they would have been killed. Maybe they didn't. Those was I know, like, or else they had to die.
Who said that they could see both sides? That's who I heard that from. That's okay. So if you're in the middle, like you can circle agree and disagree as long as you can explain why, okay? All right, for the second one, the Allied countries agreed to put the Nazi leaders on trial for two reasons. First, to punish those who were responsible, and two, to prevent future crimes against humanity. Those who organized the trials wanted future leaders to know that if they acted like Hitler and the other Nazis, they would be punished for their actions. They could not just get away with murdering their own citizens. The statement is, bringing perpetrators to justice in court is an effective way to prevent future crimes. Remember when they say the word perpetrators, we're talking about the people that are actually committing the crimes, those accused of the crimes. So in this case, the Nazis. So bringing the perpetrators or the criminals to justice in courts is an effective way to prevent future crimes. What do you think? All right, so go ahead and share with your groups what you got for this one.
Like the UN is stronger than just one country to some extent that we have I just said agree because these people want to stay
Well, yeah, I said sure. There hasn't been this much killing them like
killing them wouldn't show that we were making them professional crimes, it just would like and I don't think they would want to do that again because it really made the military show everyone
All right, moving on to the third one. Beginning in November 1945, an international trial, a court case involving many countries, was held in the city of Nuremberg in Germany. So the trials were called the Nuremberg Trials. The trials included judges and lawyers from each of the winning countries of World War II, including Britain, France, the US, and the Soviet Union. The Nazis were held on charges, and they had lawyers to defend them. Some argued that this was unfair for the Allied powers to bring the Nazis to trial because they had not broken any laws. Think about that one for a minute. At this point, there were no international laws forbidding a government from murdering its own citizens. We're not talking about individuals, we're talking about the government. So the statement is, since each country had its own laws, citizens should be brought to trial by the courts of their own country. It is unfair for some nations to push their laws on other nations. What do you think? If you commit a crime and do something that's illegal in Germany, but you're an American, should you get in trouble for it if it's legal here and illegal there? So the statement again is, it is unfair for some nations to push their laws on other nations. It's a hard one. Later. The bubble wrapping now. All right, go ahead and share with your groups what you got.
I disagree because
because it affected the whole world. So it should be
Because like murder is murder, but something else like goes less of a law in America or Germany, then it should be
if they know what happened,
like if somebody stole something from the store, it's probably different in the United States.
Who was in the middle on this one? This one's one of those ones where you can kind of see both sides for sure. All right, flip it over to the next one, number 4. So during the first set of the Nuremberg trials, 24 men were charged with the crime or indicted. These included military leaders, Nazi party leaders, and officers who worked at the concentration camps. Hitler and several other Nazi leaders were not indicted because they had committed suicide or escaped at the end of the war. But some of the low-ranking officers, soldiers, and bureaucrats who participated in the Holocaust were indicted in later trials. Bystanders were also not put on trial at Nuremberg or in future trials. This statement's going to be about bystanders. Now, bystander is a person who kind of stands by and witnesses something happening without trying to stop it or do anything about it. So think about if you're in homeroom, the book Night we read, that whole idea of the people just watching while the people are put on the trains and not doing anything. So the statement is, bystanders allowed the Holocaust to happen. If more people had stood up rather than looked the other way, millions of lives could have been saved. The bystanders should have been punished along with the perpetrators. What do you think? Mm-hmm. Ooh, this is challenging, isn't it? Yeah. This is going to be a good four corners. I see all sorts of different things, which is good. What's that?
It's kind of their duty to for the people.
So think about it in your own situation. Like, have you ever watched anyone be teased and just didn't say anything about it? Because you didn't want to be the one to get teased back, or...
I feel like they would just kill them. Anything that goes, like, they're not going to fight back.
That's a good point. Would they have been able to do anything?
Like, yeah, but also it's like...
That's a good one. All right, guys, share in your groups. This one's challenging.
And I said, well, bystanders didn't want to get hurt, but like also it's wrong to not do something and somebody's getting hurt. They do something that not people shoot up and forget what else.
They have an obligation to stand up for their peers, stand up for their rights, and they didn't do that.
But think about it.
But then I just kill them when they want
They started.
How'd we do over here?
We all think we put this in.
All of you?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
And just like in there, like even just in their city, they could have tried to do something about
Because, like, this one kind of
we put strongly agree.
because like a family,